Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. Hello, my Management Information student class. How are you? This is DrRosmaini UTHM. I'm lecturing for Chapter 6, titling Telecommunications, the Internet and Wireless Technology. In this chapter, I'm supposed to explain pertaining the hardware, software, telecommunication, and those related to Chapter 6, how the internet works. Basically, the objective of this chapter is to make you understand and be able to identify the principal components of communication network and key networking technologies. For example, the server, the router, the terminals, the telecommunication technology, and so on. And I'm supposed to help you to identify the different types of networks available in ensuring the computer networking can function properly. I hope to describe to you also how the internet and the internet technology works, and in particularly to support business operation in the e-platform. I have to be able to explain and describe to you the principal technologies and standard for the wireless networking, communication, and also internet access, and those related to the RFID wireless sensor that exists around the computer networking system. If we take a look at the current computing and networking technology, well, we would say that information system and technology has been embedded quite dearly in our daily life. For example, if you take a look at the sports program, for example, a football match at EPL or at Malaysian League, we can see that technology has been embedded into the football games. For example, a game at EPL League between Liverpool and Manchester United. So there has been moments in which Mane receiving the ball to score the goal, and he scored the goal actually, but due to VAR technology, so they can review the motion of Mane, and the ball has actually hit Mane's hand, and as such the score by Mane has been nullified, so no goal for Liverpool. So that has been described as VAR, video assisted refereeing, in football match, in which again you see sensor camera technology has been applied in football match in order the refereeing to be fair and more transparent. That is one aspect of networking technology, communication band, and IT has been embedded into our daily life. As such, our daily life is very much related and very closely related to our broadband in the form of internet speeds. If you take a look at internet speed at the current level, it is in between transition from 4G towards 5G. What all this generation means to us as the internet users? Basically, 4Gs are still hovering around 400 megabits per second data transfer, like this. In equivalent of human movement, I would say 400 megabits per second is just like the speed of a man walking on the street. However, when we are moving to the 5G data speed, our data transfer is very much faster. That is almost as equivalent as a car moving on the road. So you imagine 4G at 400 megabit per second and 5G at 1 gigabit per second. It is the difference between a man walking on the street and a car moving on the road. So it's quite fast. Internet speeds also can be seen at the Wi-Fi hotspot communication. However, Wi-Fi has a radius reach capability of 200-meter distance, which is considered a small space area. Currently in Malaysia, we have internet speed provided by many providers. For example, Unify, which is based on fiber optic connection cabling. So Unify is operating at around 100 megabits per second. So that is a current speed of a service on internet delivered by Telekom Malaysia and Unify, just for general knowledge. Currently, 4G is still dominant in our internet connection. So here is the outlook of the 4G's antenna. In particular, you could see on top of a building, on top of a communication center, at shopping center. These are all 4G's related antenna, which is installed in many places of our daily life. Why then bother from 5G? Why then bother from moving from 4G to 5G speed communication? Why it is needed? Of course, the higher speed communication bandwidth is needed due to the public needs of the faster internet connection. For example, in future, you have heard about the autonomous driving, in which the car or a taxi can move or drive by itself from destination A to destination B. And when this kind of application like autonomous driving has been implemented, so it really need a very fast bandwidth of communication in terms of internet connection. So as such, at 5G, so we're gonna have around 20 gigabit per second. That is very fast speed of communication, because autonomous driving requires a lot of size, big size of communication in terms of broadband speed. And that is why we need 5Gs, because future application all requires faster internet communication. So internet speed is one thing of the communication technology today. However, without the networking, which is the connection between hardware to the networking lines and to the other users, that is quite useless. So if we see at networking and communication trend in Malaysia and the rest of the world, basically it is at the trend of convergence, in which many devices are being converged into a single devices. For example, your smartphone has been converging many devices. For example, a video recorder on top of the phone itself. Then you have many other application on your smartphone. For example, camera, Google Map, mapping, which is on the standalone device called navigation. So those are part of the convergence of many devices into a single, I would say, equipment. For example, smartphone. On top of the convergence, we need to have a, I would say, fast broadband communication. Broadband communication, for example, in Malaysia, our average speed about last year, reported by the Sun, it is about 7 megabits per second. This was about last year. However, if you compare the broadband communication speed in our neighboring country, which is Singapore, its broadband high speed is at 55 megabit per second. So that is 6 times faster in comparison to broadband communication speed in Malaysia. So broadband wireless, that is another key component for networking and technology, that we need to have this wireless communication so that it can perform a more portable services. Telecommunication and networking technology depends very much upon computer network. Computer network is basically a network of computer terminals in which connected together and being linked by normally a server. And this server performs function as a job scheduler router for each of the computer to communicate between each other. So within the computer network, there are many components that making it work. For example, you need to have the client and server computers. This is basically client, and this basically server's computer. The network interfacing cards in between one server and one terminal. They have cards. The connecting medium, the operating system, the hub, switches, routers, and so on. And it must be also supported by software to define the networking, for example, like Novell and Microsoft networking and so on. These are a typical construct or system architecture for a simple computer network. Let's take a look on its basic constructs. So computer network start with, well, let's see, this is the personal computer user, and this is the NIC, the network identification card, and this standalone computer will be communicating with the switch, right? And this switch will also connecting to other terminal user, for example, this second PC. And all these switches are basically control the switching turn between personal computer number 1 and personal computer number 2, switching in the form of which terminal can communicate first with the server after this guy, and then they switch to this guy, this personal computer communication, and they are basically taking turn to switch to server. And this server also has switches in order to deliver the request by the users to be connected to router. And a router is the main device which is connecting to the external network for internet out there, which is the global networks of computers. So router serves like a traffic light in which the job request will be sent to the bigger network communication out there, whether to stop, to get ready, or to go to fulfill the request by the users. This is another typical construct for network in large company, because just now this is for a single computer network, like me connecting to UTHM and connecting to the bigger world of internet. However, in the big companies, for example, like Sony, for example, like Petronas, they have very much larger networks in terms of their own company internally. So for example, one big company like Petronas, in their headquarters, they have hundreds of LANs or local area network like this. And that LAN itself is actually a network of many computers. And this network of many computers connected to the other network of many computers. And as such, it is basically a network of a large computer network. For example, network at procurement, a local area network computer is connected to local area network in the engineering department. So, and this local area network and engineering department is connecting to the other local area network at perhaps human resource. So as such, all of these departments have their own LANs, and all these department LANs are connected to each other. So it forms as networks in a large company like Petronas. And within the network of large companies, normally they have the very powerful servers to host the website, the corporate intranet, or Petronas connecting to other Petronas. For example, Petronas Malaysia connecting to Petronas, for example, Sudan. So that is a corporate extranet. And this network and server serve as a back-end system to host all the communication needed by Petronas. And on top of that, normally large companies, they have the mobile local area network, because engineers, managers are moving around, so they need to have this mobile local area network. And big companies normally have meeting based on video conferencing. So between Petronas Malaysia and Petronas, for example, Sudan, Petronas Vietnam. So they may have meeting by using merely video conferencing. And this network also hosts a very big telephone network, including wireless cell phones. If we take a look on the corporate network infrastructure, so these are their system architecture. For example, at Petronas, normally we start as server here. These are the main server hosting perhaps website, intranet, and extranet connection. So the three servers, 1, 2, and 3. And these servers are connected to their main internet service provider. For example, Celcom, DG, and Maxis. So those are category for internet service provider. And this internet service provider is linking all the wireless local area network, perhaps by Petronas engineers in the field. And these are connected to their headquarters as a corporate wired local area network. And normally it is at the main office or headquarters. And all these portable and local area network are connected by ISP, Internet Service Provider, to the internet itself, which is the networks of computer networks. And this internet are connecting to other wireless ISP provider to be connected to other Petronas branches, for example, internationally. And all this also supported by telephone system, be it cell phone or smart devices, and all these are bounded together by this ISP to form the corporate network infrastructure for the whole Petronas. What are the key digital networking technology must be available to ensure telecommunication and networking in current to this business? Well, the key one of the first component is the client-server computing environment, in which one server are serving many users in the form of terminal PCs, smartphone, or perhaps personal computer at the headquarters or at the design center, for example. So client is requesting work or requesting computing task to the server, and the server is distributing the job to the rest of the network, be it in the headquarters or those computers that need support in the field. So this is what they call distributed computing model, in which computing power is being distributed to other resources in order that the server is not that fully overloaded. And this has many architecture system, some of them in the form of centralized mainframe computing, some of them are on the smaller scale of server, some of them are on the independent server that is existing in the remote. So the internet is actually the largest implementation of a client-server computing, because the internet has been known as a network of computer networks. How does this telecommunication technology work in between terminal, server, and the other user at the other end of the world? So they employ this packet switching technology. Packet switching technology is a method to slice the messages into small parcels. So the big message is actually sliced down or broken down into pieces and sent along the communication line, and then assembled back to the receiver as the whole message as it was sent by the sender. So this is the illustration of how the packet technology works. For example, it starts here. So this is the original message that we send. For example, it is a picture with a text. So it will be broken down into three sections like this. So this one message broken down to three pieces. They are all being sent independently over the internet, over the local area network, or over the telecommunication channel, and sent to the receiver here. So each packet, packet 1 and packet 2 and packet 3, they have their own message number and destination to be sent to the receiver. When the receiver receives at the end of the world to read the message in the form of picture and text, so the receiver computer will assemble back the message in the form of packet 1, packet 2, packet 3, and it will match in the same shape it is being sent by the sender here. So in such a way that only the receiver can receive the full message. And this technology has been proposed by Paul Barron. He is the pioneer that developed packet technology to be sent from sender to receiver, as it is being shown here. That is what they call packet technology or packet switching. Another key component in telecommunication and networking technology, they call it as a TCP/IP protocol and its connectivity. TCP means Transmission Control Protocol. IP means Internet Protocol. So this just like a controller or gateway to send your message, communication between sender and receiver. So do you notice that when you make connection to a computer, for example, like in the library, and you connect it to the wall, and each wall socket for local area network, it has this kind of number. For example, I'll just jot down here, 183.12.1894.11. These are actually the TCP number to identify a unique location of which internet port that you are connected with, like in the library or in those other places. So this is to identify who is who for traceability in communication. So it involves many layers. For example, application layer, transport layer, internet layer, and network interfacing layer. So for example, this is your computer, and you want to connect to your friends out there in the overseas. So you send your message, there is a firewall checking your messages and then send over internet. And by having this TCP IP address number, only then your friend can receive your message and read your message. This is the illustration for the two computers. For example, computer A and computer B, you and your friend. And this is your notebook, and this is perhaps your friend's PC somewhere there in overseas. So in order to send email for like Gmail from your computer, so your mail need to use certain application or software, and then your email will be transported by certain communication service provider brought it over the internet and go to NIC, Network Interfacing Card, and your network interfacing card of your notebook will be communicating with network interfacing card of your friend's personal computer here at the other part of the world. And your message will go through internet, being transported, and only application at your friends like Gmail will read actual email that you send from your notebook here, so that your friend can read the full document of Gmail that's sent by you. So this is how it works at the sender end, and this is at the receiver end as computer B. So that is their transmission control protocol based on TCP IP reference model. Another part which essential for communication networks are basically signal. We have to understand signals, digitals versus analog signal, right? So in order to understand this, later I will explain what does it mean by modem and types of network available. For example, local area network, Ethernet, Ethernet-based client server or peer-to-peer, WANs, wide area networks, metropolitan campus area network. There are many types of local area network, but most famously people use LANs, local area network. Okay, just now I explained to you, I mentioned about modems. So modem is a device to convert from digital signal to the analog signal, and then convert back to digital signal. Why we need to have this conversion? Because modem is equipment to modulate and demodulate signal. In the current internet communication technology or communication technology that we have, your computer, for example here on the left, is basically a digital signal device. So it communicates digitally. Digitally means that the signal is only ones and zeros. It is high current or low current. It is just 1 zeros and 1 zeros. However, when your notebook communicate with your friend's notebook, normally this kind of telecommunication will go to telecommunication cable, like those on the pole next to the road. These are basically telecommunication cable which is based on copper wire. So when your communication signal goes to this cable, it is communicating from digital signal to analog signal at this communication cable on the telecommunication pole. So in that on that communication cable, it is working in the analog signal. So when your signal goes to your friend's notebook, right? Again, from this telecommunication pole cable, the signal will be convert to the digital signal, so that your computer can read at the end the message that you send. So that's why you need the modem or modulator or demodulator equipment, because in the mode of communication between you and your friends, there are medium in which it works based on analog system, normally like this copper cabling communication cable at the communication pole next to the road. So what else we need to ensure the communication networks is working properly? So we need to have transmission media or cable, right, in the form of many types. For example, twisted pair wire, coaxial cable. For example, like this is coaxial cable, right, at the back of your television, at the back of your connecting your antenna, or twisted pair wire like this on top right side. Fiber optics cable, it's like this on the bottom right side, right? It is a single big cable. Inside there are many fibers